there, I'm Quill Kukla. I'm the professor for Bojack Horseman and philosophy. What do we know? Do we know things? Let's find out. This little first video is designed to be an introduction to the course and how it's going to work, as well as a kind of an orientation. I'm totally excited about this class, and I hope that this video is going to make it clear how the class is going to work. I'm also always available to you over email, so if this video doesn't answer all of your questions, please get in touch as soon as you possibly can, and I'll try to make sure that everybody's clear on how everything's going to go right up front. My contact information is on the syllabus, and I'm going to be in easy email contact throughout the term. You can also always set up an appointment with me, and we can talk over Zoom or over chat. This class is entirely asynchronous, which means we will never have in-person meetings online where we all need to be in the same place at the same time. But if you want to talk to me synchronously, you always can, so keep that in mind. Okay, a little bit about me. I'm a professor here in the philosophy department at Georgetown University. My primary academic training is in philosophy, but I also have a background in public health, bioethics, geography, and cultural studies. So I'm a fairly interdisciplinary thinker, and I think that this is going to be a fairly interdisciplinary course. We're going to be using the television show Bojack Horseman as our text, and we're going to be using it as an introduction to many of the core issues and debates that would be covered in a traditional introduction to philosophy class. We're going to focus particularly, though not exclusively, on existentialism and the existentialist tradition and existentialist approaches to questions, but that won't be our only focus. So just to give you some advanced sense, some of the questions that we're going to look at include, what's the meaning or the purpose of life? Does there even need to be a purpose to life? What does it mean to die a good death? When, if ever, do we have free will? When are we responsible for our actions? Does acting under the influence of addiction remove or change our responsibility for our actions? And if so, when and how? Other questions include, how do our memories shape our personal identity? And what does it even mean to have a personal identity? We're going to look at questions in ethics, like what makes something a good apology? When do we owe an apology, and what counts as doing an apology well? Conversely, when, if ever, do we owe forgiveness to somebody who has apologized for us? What is friendship, and what's the nature of that relationship? And what do we owe our friends? These and lots of other traditional philosophical questions in ethics and in epistemology and in various branches of philosophy are things that are going to come up throughout the class. Now, more generally speaking, I'm interested in how visual texts and multimedia texts can contain and communicate philosophical ideas in rich ways. So for me, the show itself is really our primary text in this class. It's not just a springboard for talking about philosophy. It is philosophy, or I'm going to try to convince you of that. So we're going to be treating the show as a piece of philosophy. But along the way, the visuality and the sound of the show is going to be essential to how it makes the philosophical points that it makes. It's not just incidental. Now, I'm going to tell you right now up front, I love this show. I think it's a really rich and really deep show. And honestly, I designed this course primarily for people who love the show and are fans of the show. I'm going to assume that if you signed up for this class, it's because you like the show. It's not really a class for newbies. If you've never seen the show, you're of course welcome to take the class, but just be warned that I'm going to presuppose that the show is valuable and that it has a lot to teach us, and that it's a rich text that we're going to take seriously, and that it is interesting visually, narratively, philosophically, and rhetorically. So I'm not going to be trying to justify the worth of the show. I'm just going to dive in and use it. I need to warn you about something up front, and this is important. This is a show that looks on the surface like it's about cute animals. However, it covers very, very mature and often emotionally brutal themes. I can't emphasize this enough. I'm going to use content warnings as I go as best I can, and you'll notice that I've included content warnings for each of the episodes that I've asked you to focus on. But if you're going to take this class, you need to realize that you have to be ready to watch and think about and write about topics like eating disorders, substance abuse, sexual assault, death, and much more, often in very intense ways. You want to be sure that that kind of emotionally intense material is for you. And to be honest, I'm filming the last of these lectures in the spring of 2020. You won't see them for a few months, and so I'm not sure what the state will be in a couple of months when you're watching these lectures. But right now, when we're all quarantined and at home and things are changing very quickly, we are already in an emotionally intense state of mind, most of us, and a lot of us are quite fragile. So be kind to yourself. It's much more intense sometimes to see something represented visually than it is just to read about it. So material that you might be fine reading about in a text might be too much for you when it's presented in this kind of visual and narrative form. Just please be sure that you're ready for an emotionally intense class. Okay, another much more pragmatic warning, be warned that you have to have a Netflix account or access to somebody's Netflix account in order to take this class. You're going to be responsible for watching all the episodes of all 6 seasons, and you need to have access to those episodes. And the only way to really get access to them is by having access to Netflix. If that sounds intimidating that you're going to have to watch that much, you should also know that the other reading for the class is pretty light. So the main text that you're going to have is the episodes themselves, but you really do need to have stable access to the entire series. Notice, by the way, that many of the topics in the show are going to recur again and again. There are some philosophical questions like, what is it to have a personal identity? When are we responsible for our actions? When do we owe responsibilities? What counts as a good death? These are questions that come up in Bojack over and over and over again. And they become richer and deeper and more resonant as the show progresses. How detailed and deep and sometimes challenging the treatment of these topics progresses as the show goes on. But part of what that means is that this is not a traditional philosophy class where you're going to have different topics that you cover each week or each module. Instead, we're going to loop back around and again over and over again, and we're going to often return to the same topics again and again. But hopefully we're going to be able to treat them more deeply as we go, as the show brings in more and more layers and dimensions. So there's a kind of an unusual non-topic based structure to this course, which is going to follow the trajectory of the show. All right, let me talk a little bit about the structure of the class, because you need to get in the flow of how the class works from just a mechanical point of view as soon as you can. So the first thing you need to do is to work through the orientation model that you're going to find on Canvas. This is very important. I've set aside a couple of days at the beginning of the term just for you to do the orientation. Please make sure that you do it before you go on to Module 1. Finish that entire orientation. That's all you're responsible for the first couple of days. I'd also like you to post a video introduction of yourself, a little profile of yourself, sometime over the next few days. And there's a spot on Canvas for you to do that. It should be straightforward. If you're not comfortable posting a video, you could also just post a little textual introduction of yourself or text a picture of yourself. But it would be nice to upload a picture of yourself rather, but it would be nice to have a little video introduction to each of you if you don't mind doing that, so that I and everyone else can really see who's in the class. After you're done with the orientation, there are going to be 6 modules, 1 for each season of the show. Each module is going to be about a week long, or just a little bit over a week long, except the last module is going to be a little bit longer. How much time you, let me put that better. How you time your work within each module is up to you. So if you want to, you can just plow through and do the whole module in one day, or you can spread the work out. It's up to you. So you can work within the module at your own pace. Be warned, though, that you need to finish each module at the time that that module ends and before the next module opens up, because as each module ends, it will shut and the next one will open. So you have freedom about how to organize your time inside modules, but you really don't have freedom about how to organize your time across modules. You need to finish each module in time. Now, within each module, you're going to need to do several things, and each module is going to be the same this way. You're going to have the same tasks in every module. The first thing you should do for each module is you should read the list of questions and issues that I've posted for that module. And these are the issues and questions that I want you to keep your eye on as you watch this season. So for each module, there's going to be a list of philosophical ideas, themes, questions, issues, debates that I think come up particularly vividly during that season. And what you should do after you read the list is keep your eye out for those issues as you watch the episodes. So this is really just a matter of reading a list up front. The next thing you need to do is you need to watch the whole season from start to finish. Each of the seasons is 12 episodes long, except the last one is 18. It's sort of a supersized season. And each episode is a little bit less than half an hour. So you're going to need to set aside 6 hours per module just for watching. More like 8 hours for watching Module 6, Season 6. However, even though you need to watch all the episodes, each time I'm going to give you a few episodes that I want you to watch more closely and pay particular attention to, so you don't have to watch all the episodes with equal care. I will tell you where to direct your attention. Now, for each module, after you've read the list of questions and watched the season, you're also going to need to read the readings for that module. It's usually going to be 2 or 3 short philosophical pieces that go along with each module. And furthermore, you're going to need to watch my video lectures for that module. There will usually be about 4 lectures per module, give or take. So far that's read the list of questions, watch the episodes, read the readings, and watch the lectures. Okay, that's all stuff that you need to do for each module. Next is, throughout the module, I'd like you to participate in that module's discussion board. And that's going to be a place where you can talk about anything to do with that season. Please do everybody a favor and try to avoid spoilers about later seasons if you've already seen the whole show, in case other students haven't seen all of the seasons. So try to keep your discussion to just the season for that is pegged to that discussion board. Of course, you can refer to the seasons that are before that as well. So keep to that season or previous module seasons. For the discussions, you're going to be broken into small groups so that you have a smaller set of people who you can talk to in more depth, and that will happen automatically on Canvas. In any case, on the discussion boards, you can talk about anything you want. This is a place for you to reflect on and discuss and respond to that season. So think, what did you like? What did you find disturbing? What was interesting? What was surprising? Sometimes I'll give you little prompts and say, hey, you might want to talk about this, but usually not. Usually it's just open space. Please make sure that you engage in discussion with other students and that you respond to what they have to say. Because this is an asynchronous online class, this is really the only part of the class where you get to have a back and forth with other students. The participation in the open discussion forums is going to count towards your grade, but even aside from that, this is how you're going to get to know the other people in your class. So make sure that you participate every week, both as somebody contributing posts and as somebody responding to posts. The other thing that you're going to need to do, the final thing that you're going to need to do by the end of each module, is you're going to need to write up a reflection paper in response to a prompt. That's got to be around 500 words long, roughly. And your reflection paper is going to be posted in text form on Canvas, and other students will be able to see it. If you can draw on the readings for that module, great, but mostly I'm interested in seeing you reflect critically and carefully and deeply on the philosophical work that's going on inside the show itself. As we go, I'll give you more details about these writing assignments, so don't worry about them too much yet. There's a lot of details inside Canvas. And then finally, you're going to be assigned a peer review for each module. So every time that you post a reflection paper, you're going to then be assigned the paper of one of your fellow students, and you're going to post a short response to one of the other students' reflection papers. This is just supposed to be like 100 or maybe at most 200 words, a couple paragraphs where you respond to somebody else's paper. If they want to respond back to you, that's optional, that's great. I'd love there to be some back and forth about the papers, but that's not required. What's required is just that you do a peer review of one of your peers, and you will be assigned that automatically. In turn, this means that you're going to get a response from one of your peers, and that'll be nice for you. This is all going to be clearer, I hope, once you actually get into Canvas and click on the assignments. All of this will happen pretty much automatically. So to recap, for every module, read the list of topics, watch all the episodes with specific attention to the episodes that I tell you to focus on, watch my lectures, read the assigned readings, participate in the discussion board, write a reflection paper, and write a peer response to the reflection paper that you're assigned. That's a module, and there are 6 of those. That's most of the work that you need to do for this class, but there will also be a final project at the end of the term. And you're going to need to give me a 1-paragraph proposal on July 16th where you tell me what you want to do for your final project. And this final project can really be almost anything. I'm really looking forward to you being creative here. I encourage you to make it multimedia. It's going to be handed in online, so it would be great if you want to embed images, video clips, bits and pieces of the show or of other shows, whatever you like. This is just going to me, so you don't need to worry about intellectual property laws because it's not for public consumption. So take anything you like off the web and stick it in there. Be creative with your format. If you want, you can just write a conventional paper. If you do, I hope it's a paper that'll have some images and clips embedded in it. But you can also do all kinds of things other than a paper. So just for example, and these are just examples, you can do whatever you like. Maybe you want to write a script for a mini episode of Bojack Horseman. Or maybe you want to do a deep dive into one character or write a paper from the point of view of one of the characters in the show. Maybe if you prefer fiction writing, you want to write a short story based on the characters of the show. Or maybe you want to do something digitally creative. Like, for example, you could put together an annotated episode list where you pick a theme, like, say, apology, and you find all of the episodes that do something interesting with apology, and you make it so that if you click on that episode, then you've provided some little written text about what's philosophically interesting in there about apology. That's just an example. You could create all kinds of annotated episode lists, right? You can write something where you pay attention to the art or the music in the show and you provide images or sound clips of the music. I'm just coming up with examples, and I hope that this is just to show you how creative you can be. I'd love to see you have some creative ideas for how to use technology and visuals and audio and writing in whatever combination you want to do some kind of cool, not too big because it's a short class, so manageable, non-overly ambitious, but cool project concerning Bojack Horseman by the end of the summer. Everything in this class is on Canvas. The detailed descriptions of the episodes, the discussion boards, the readings, the place where you'll upload your papers, the syllabus, my contact information, the lectures, it's all on Canvas. If you have any questions, just ask me, but whatever you're looking for, it's probably on Canvas. Okay, so that covers the nuts and the bolts of the course. I'm just going to leave you with one more contentful point before I sign off, okay? So this is clearly an odd show in the sense that a lot of the characters are in the forms of different animals. That will be the very first thing you notice about the show. We've got a horse character, a cat character, a dog character, and there are all kinds of animals on the show. As you go into watching the show, whether you've watched it before and you're about to rewatch it, or whether you're watching it for the first time, I would like you to think about how the show is using these animal forms. How much does the show pull on the natures or our stereotypes about different animals in order to help us understand these characters, and why? How do they pick which characters have human form and which don't? And also, relatedly, think about this. Because so many of the characters are non-human animals, the different characters in the show all have radically different physical shapes and capacities. So for example, Princess Carolyn is a cat, and she can do things like jump out of a window and land on her feet, right? I would like you to think about this. How does having characters that are physically so different from one another like that, in terms of their shape and their size and their abilities, how does this shake up our notions of things like attractiveness, ability versus disability, or what it even means to have a normal or an abnormal body? Having different capacities on this show, or looking really different, is not a better or worse thing. It's just built in as part of the variety of the different creatures on the show. And I think this tells us something significant right up front about how we're supposed to think about these characters in this world. Right? What changes? What happens differently when you have a show where the characters are not physically measured against any one fixed standard of attractiveness or normalcy? They can't be, right? Because normal for a cat is not the same as normal for a bird, and so on. In what way is this device of having animal characters freeing for both the makers of the show and for us, the viewers of the show? So don't just think of the animal forms as some sort of cutesy device. Think hard about how the animality of the characters and the physicality of the characters is shaping what's going on and shaping the norms of the world that we're immersed in as we watch the show. Okay, and with that, I'll leave you and let you start playing around on the Canvas site and familiarizing yourself with it, and also start watching season 1. Start doing your orientation. Have fun. This should be an incredibly fun course if all goes well. I'm extremely excited about it. I know a lot of you are also extremely excited about it. This is a really unusual thing that we're getting to do. There's very few courses anything like this. So we're lucky. It's going to be fun. I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you virtually, and I hope that we have a fantastic time. Thanks, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.